Hi, my name is Saida Dahir.
Asha Pruitt.
Sofia Catalina Negrete Retamales.
My name is Janelle Zimmerman, and I'm a senior at Mountain View High School.
I go to Copper Hills High School.
And I'm a senior at Skyline High School.
And I am a senior at the Academy for Math, Engineering, and Science. So I came from a country that was very war-torn, and there was a lot of destruction and chaos in our everyday lives. And one of the key things that were lacking was liberty and having a right to being yourself. Somalia is actually called the land of poets, and everyone in my family writes poetry and reads poetry, and so I was very open to that at a very young age. So when I was around 7 years old, I started writing poetry of my own. It was very cliche poetry, but it was very, very powerful to me, and I continue with that. And in 7th grade, I actually read a poem at my school talent show, and that really just pushed me to becoming a slam poet and really finding myself in my writing and in my poetry. I tried to make all of my poems about things that I want to see change in the world. So recently I've been pushing gun control poems and poems that are about the Muslim ban, because those are two things that really affect me every single day, and I knew that there was something that I needed to do. So just like I always do, I decided to write poems about them and share my messages and my stories and really make people wake up and see the reality of what we're facing. So last year I actually got to speak at the March for Our Lives. I was one of the organizers for the walkouts at my school and the march and the Road to Change when they came here, and I think that I became a better person in my activism because of it. I think being an activist means putting the greater good above yourself. So I think activism is really bringing community and unity and making sure that we are trying to be representation and trying to make sure that the world is a safe space.
Honestly, I don't even remember when I started doing activism, just because I feel like I've been doing it forever. I'm definitely most involved with March for Our Lives. I attended the original march about a year ago, and then the following summer I applied to become the new director of March for Our Lives Utah, and I got it. Working up at the Utah Capitol during the legislative session this year was definitely intimidating, and I think people tend to pay attention to young people a lot more when they're up lobbying at the Capitol, just because, you know, if high schoolers are involved, then it must be an important issue. It is something that students face every day at school, like the fear of going to school and not coming back home that day. And it's also something that I've addressed in my work that I've done in terms of theater, because I'm on a slam poetry team and we performed a piece about the fear of gun violence. So I've always been really passionate about reproductive health, reproductive rights, that sort of thing. And so I founded the first Utah chapter of Period Inc., like Period Incorporated, and we basically work on 3 main levels, and those are education, advocacy, and service surrounding periods. Being an activist to me means advocating for the civil rights and liberties of not just any marginalized groups that you personally belong to, but also speaking out for other marginalized groups.
It was at the beginning of my senior year that I just felt like there was so much that needed to be done, and I didn't see many people doing what I wanted to do, that I decided to break out of my shell. I got involved with Latinos in Action at the beginning of my sophomore year, just as I barely arrived to the United States. It was the place that I felt like was another home. And now in my senior year, I am the president of Latinos in Action, and with it, I just feel like I make sure that everyone's voice is being heard. But I have also had the opportunity of encountering like immigrant students who are very lost in the new education system that they have been brought into. I think that it is one of the worst things that can happen to a person, to just feel like they don't belong anywhere. There is just so much going on for the immigrant community, and it is often diminished, yet families are being torn apart every day. Activism to me means not being silent. Once you're an activist, I feel like you don't stop, because anything that you see, any injustice that you see, enrages you so much that you have to do something about it. I am very excited to find new ways of being an activist. I don't keep myself on the same place, and I just keep progressing and progressing through different works of activism and different results, so that every time I get to a goal, I go on to my next one.
So I started a GSA at my school because I kind of wanted one. For me, it was kind of the sport I had always wanted. We had our advisor ready, we had all the papers ready, like last school year, and then the first day of school this year, we were like, okay, we're doing this. For me, again, as an LGBTQ student, it was really important to have that GSA there because I wanted to do more with the school and kind of change the climate in the school surrounding queer issues, and then also have a place where students could feel supported. For better or for worse, kids are talking about it more. I know that, you know, with the GSA there's a lot more unity. By being more vocal, more and more people are willing to like do what's needed to help protect LGBTQ students and make sure that the environment they are in is safe. My role in March for Our Lives, I am our creative director. That means I do a lot of the graphics for our group, and I've contributed a lot of like artwork. And the reason I decided to get involved with that partly comes from, you know, being an LGBTQ student again, and how the Pulse shooting, we'll take that as an example, like that really hit me as the first time where like I felt so scared, like I could be like killed for who I am. Protecting those liberties and rights is important because of that. We are all equal, and that's the way it should be, and that's the ideal. And that's the goal we're trying to reach. What activism means to me is basically just standing up for something you really care about and trying to change things that either you do want to see in the world or that you don't want to see in the world. You know, there's the quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Well, this is kind of a step further, and it's make the change you want to see in the world.
Just activism in general is becoming more and more accessible to students all over the US and worldwide.
We're going to be the next generation to, you know, shape the political and social culture.
You make sure that your voice is being heard by those who are in power, by those politicians that can make a change.
I think that the young people are capable of so much. We've already made such pivotal change in our community, and we're headed towards a generation of global change. And I think that the young people are going to win, like David Hogg says.